I'm spending the day with my boss, she said. I kept sealing the lunch container. Press. Click. Like I hadn't heard. Like I was a man who could simply refuse a sentence by ignoring it. Then she added, almost cheerful, like she was telling me about a movie trailer. I want to try a real man. That was the hook in the soft part of the mouth. That was the line that made every sound in the room sharpen. Coffee drip, refrigerator hum, even the neighbor's sprinkler out back. I looked up. She was watching my face now, waiting for the flare-up. That's what she wanted. Anger, pleading, a scene. Something she could tell herself later was proof that I was the problem. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I swallowed my own reaction the way you swallow hot coffee when you've already burned your tongue and don't want to admit it. Okay, I said. Just that. One word. Flat. Calm. Not a victory. Not a surrender. Her smile jerked, quick and small, like it had bumped into something hard. You're not even going to ask who, she said. I assume you'll tell me what you want me to know, I said. And keep the rest for yourself. She blinked. She didn't like that either. My boss, she said again, sharper now, like repetition could make it true enough to stand on. His name is Grant. Grant. A name with no color. A name you could pin on anybody in a polo. She grabbed her keys, then paused at the doorway like she expected me to tackle her, to do something that would make her the main character in a story she'd already written in her head. I didn't move. Don't wait up, she said. The front door shut with a gentle click. Not slammed, controlled, like she was leaving a meeting, not a marriage. I stood there in my kitchen with my lunch in my hand and the coffee pot still hissing. My phone sat on the counter beside the dish towel, face down. I could feel it there, like a loaded thing. I work maintenance operations for a condo complex on the edge of town. 18 buildings, 2 pools, a clubhouse nobody uses except for kids' birthdays and HOA meetings that turn into wrestling matches without the fun. My job is simple on paper. Fix what breaks, keep the water running, keep the gates working, keep the place from falling apart. In reality, my job is people. People lie, people complain, people forget, people deny. I've gotten good at reading the space between what someone says and what they mean. I flipped my phone over. I didn't call my wife, I didn't call a friend, I didn't call her mother, I didn't drive after her. I did the logical thing. I searched Grant in her recent texts. She wasn't careful. She'd gotten lazy with my trust like it was a couch cushion. There he was, Grant, boss, with a little suit emoji she'd added, like she was in on a joke I didn't get to hear. The last message from him sat at the top like a wink. Can't wait. Same place. Don't bring guilt. I stared at that line until my hands stopped shaking. Then I did something else logical. I didn't text him. I called the number listed under his contact card, not him. The other number that popped up beneath it, the one she'd saved under Grant Home. It rang twice. A woman answered. Her voice was clear, polite, the kind of voice that had smiled through too many customer calls. Hello? I pictured her in a house that was clean because she kept it that way. I pictured her holding a mug that had never been dropped. Hi, I said. I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Daniel. I think we should talk. About Grant. Silence on the line, then a soft exhale. Who is this? She asked, but it came out like she already knew. I'm married to a woman who believes Grant is her boss, I said. She's spending the day with him. I'd rather not guess what that means. Another beat, then, oh. Just that. One syllable. The sound of a door swinging open. My name is Claire, she said, and he is my husband. The coffee pot clicked off. The kitchen went quiet. I stared at the steam rising from my cup like it was a signal. Claire, I said, I have a suggestion. A simple one. We meet them today. Together. What are you saying? She asked, but her voice had changed. Harder, steadier, like she'd sat up straight. A double date, I said. Public place, nothing dramatic. Just showing up. She laughed once, not happy. I don't even know you. You don't need to, I said. You just need to decide whether you want to keep being the last person in your own marriage to know. Silence. Then I heard something shift on her end. Maybe a chair, maybe her life. Where? She said. Pick a place he'd agree to, I said. Somewhere he thinks he looks good. She didn't hesitate. There's a wine and wood place near the river, she said. He loves it because the server knows his name. Tonight, I said. It's Tuesday, she said. People who think they're untouchable don't care what day it is, I replied. A breath. Then, okay. There it was. Agreement. Instantly, like you'd asked someone to hold a door while you carried something heavy. I'll text him, she said. I'll say I want a night out. I'll say I have a surprise. Make it sound like his idea, I told her. She made a sound that was almost a smile and almost a growl. I can do that, she said. We hung up. I stood in the kitchen with my lunch still in my hand and my coffee cooling. My wife had no idea what that call had set in motion. And that, right there, was the first moment I felt something else beneath the hurt. Something colder, something that held its shape. A plan. I went to work like it was a normal day, because the world doesn't pause for your heart. At the condo complex, sprinklers popped on and off, gates stuck half open, and someone had stuffed a whole roll of paper towels down the men's bathroom toilet at the pool. I fixed it. I took calls. I nodded at residents who waved like their lives weren't a mess, too. All day, my mind kept returning to one word my wife had used, boss. It mattered, not because of pride, but because of what it told me about her. She wasn't just sneaking around, she was building a story. She wanted the affair to feel like an upgrade, not a mistake. A real man, a boss, a ladder. When you work around buildings, you learn. People will paint over mold before they admit a leak. Around noon, I stepped into the office and asked our HR coordinator, Linda, a woman who could smell nonsense through closed doors, if she'd ever heard of a guy named Grant Harlow. She frowned, tapping her keyboard. From where? Property management, I said. Commercial, maybe. She searched. Her eyebrows rose. Grant Harlow, she read. Leasing manager at Riverstone Retail. That's not even... Wait, how do you know him? Leasing manager. Not director. Not owner. Not CEO. Just a manager. A guy with a tie and a key card, and the kind of confidence that grows when nobody corrects you. Small town, I said. Names float. Linda studied me, then softened, the way women do when they can tell a man's pretending he's fine. Are you okay? She asked. I gave her a look that said, I can't afford not to be. Just checking, I said. Thanks. Back in my truck, I pulled up Riverstone Retail's website. There he was in the staff section, smiling like he'd learned to do it in front of mirrors. Short bio, clean haircut, community-focused. Under his photo, a work email. Under that, a phone extension. I didn't call, I didn't need to. I just stared at the screen until the picture stopped looking like a person and started looking like a target. Then I did the next logical thing. I called my attorney friend, not because I wanted to sue anybody, because I didn't want to do something stupid. You don't go into a storm without knowing where the exits are. His name is Eli. He's the kind of lawyer who wears sneakers with suits and still wins. You sound like you're standing on a ledge, he said when he answered. I'm standing in my truck, I said. But close enough. I gave him the short version. Wife. Boss. Manager. Double date plan. Eli was quiet a long moment. Then he said, First thing, don't touch his property, don't threaten him, don't threaten her. Second, start documenting. Screenshots, dates, locations. Third, if you want out, we do it clean. I'm not asking for clean, I said. I know, he replied. That's why I'm telling you anyway. I asked him about recording laws, about what counted as harassment, about whether I could change locks, about what a judge cared about and what he didn't. Eli answered every question like he'd been waiting for them. Revenge feels good in the moment, he said, but it costs you later if you do it sloppy. I stared at my steering wheel, knuckles pale. I'm not trying to ruin my life, I said. Just theirs. That's the same sentence, he said. I laughed once, but it didn't come from humor. It came from pressure. Help me do it right, I said. Eli sighed. Okay, start with this. Do not move money. Keep paying bills. Keep acting normal. And if you're going to confront, do it in public. I'm doing a double date, I said. He made a sound like he wanted to tell me it was insane and brilliant at the same time. Text me the address, he said. And Daniel, if you're going to turn into the villain in your own story, at least be a smart one. I hung up. All afternoon, I watched my wife's location on the shared app she insisted we use for safety. She was at a hotel by the interstate for 3 hours. Then she moved to Riverstone's office. Then she went to a boutique downtown and lingered there long enough to buy something. She wasn't hiding. She was daring. At 5, Claire texted me. He said yes, 7:30, River House. I replied, I'll be there. Then I sat in my truck and stared at the sky until it started to dim. The kind of dim that makes a town look smaller. I drove home, showered, put on my only decent button-down, and waited. At 7:15, my wife walked into the house with shopping bags and a glow like she'd been lit from inside. She saw me dressed up and her eyes narrowed. What's this? She asked. A date, I said. She laughed. With who? With you, I said. And your boss, and his wife. The color left her face so fast it looked like someone had pulled a plug. What did you do? She whispered. Nothing, I said. I made a call. She stared at me like I'd suddenly become a stranger. Maybe I had. You can't, she started. I can, I said. And I did. She opened her mouth again, then closed it. She set the bags down carefully, like she was afraid of breaking the air. You're crazy, she said. Maybe, I replied. But I'm also dressed. Let's not be late. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Her hand trembled. Grant's here, she said, voice thin. Perfect, I said. We walked out together. Married on paper, strangers in the driveway. In the car, she sat rigid, looking out the window like the world was a movie and she was the one trapped behind the glass. Why are you doing this? She said. I kept my eyes on the road. Because you wanted a real man, I said, and real men don't beg. River House sat on the edge of the water, all warm lights and dark wood, like it had been built to hide secrets. Grant was already there at the bar, laughing too loudly at something the bartender said. He wore a sport coat and the kind of watch that looked expensive enough to impress people who didn't know watches. Claire stood beside him, a hand on his arm like a claim. She was smaller than I expected, but there was steel in the set of her jaw. My wife froze the second she saw them. Her steps slowed, like the floor had turned to mud. Grant's smile faltered when he noticed us. He looked my wife up and down first, like she was the prize he'd brought. Then he looked at me, and the smile rearranged itself into something smug. Daniel, he said, like he'd practiced it. Right? I didn't offer my hand. Grant. Claire stepped forward and held her hand out to me instead. Hi, she said. Thank you for calling. My wife's eyes flicked between us, wild. She was realizing what it meant to be seen from the outside. Grant's fingers tightened on Claire's arm. This is unexpected, he said. Not to me, Claire replied, voice polite but cold. I asked for a night out. You said yes, and now here we are. The host led us to a booth with a view of the river. Candlelight turned everyone's face into a story. The waitress poured water and smiled, like she had no idea she'd walked into a controlled burn. For the first 10 minutes, we did what adults do when they're bleeding. We made small talk. Grant talked about work, name-dropping people like coins. My wife laughed at the right places, too loud, too fast. Claire asked simple questions and watched his answers like she was weighing them. I mostly listened. When the food arrived, Grant raised his glass. "To new friends," he said. Claire clinked her glass against his without smiling. "To honesty," she said. Grant's eyes flashed. "Sure," he said, "to honesty." My wife's fork shook. She put it down. "Can we not do this?" she said low. Grant leaned back, pretending ease. "Do what?" he asked. "Eat dinner?" I looked at him. "You tell my wife you're her boss," I said. "Why?" His smile tightened. "I am her boss," he said. Claire laughed. It was soft but sharp. "Grant," she said, "you are not anybody's boss. You're a leasing manager. Stop embarrassing yourself." Grant's face went stiff, like a mask drying. My wife's eyes widened. "What?" she said. I watched her absorb it, the truth, small and stupid and humiliating. "You told me you ran the company," she whispered to Grant. He gave her a look that was half warning, half blame, like her confusion was inconvenient. "I run my department," he said. Claire set her napkin down neatly. "Grant," she said, "I found the texts. I found the hotel receipts. I found the gift card you used. Don't play games with words." The waitress drifted nearby, sensing tension the way animals sense lightning. Claire smiled at her and ordered another drink, like this was a normal night. Grant's eyes snapped to me. "So, what is this?" he asked. "You want to fight? You want to embarrass us?" "No," I said. "I want to know what you thought would happen." Grant scoffed. "It's not like I held a gun to anybody's head," he said. My wife flinched. I didn't. "True," I said. "You didn't force her. She chose." My wife's cheeks flushed. "Daniel." I held up a hand. "No," I said. "You made your speech this morning. Let me have mine." Grant leaned forward. "Look, man," he said, lowering his voice like we were buddies. "Things happen. People drift. You can either make it ugly or move on." Claire's hand tightened around her glass. "You already made it ugly," she said. "You just didn't think anyone would show up." Grant ignored her and looked at me again. "What do you want?" he asked. I took a sip of water. "I want you to keep talking," I said. He blinked. "What?" "I want you to explain," I said. "How you seduce someone else's wife, tell her you're a big deal, and then act surprised when her husband makes one phone call." Grant's jaw worked. He glanced around the restaurant, aware of eyes. He lowered his voice further. "Fine," he said. "You want honesty? Your wife wanted attention. She wanted to feel chosen. I gave her that. You didn't." The words landed like a slap. My wife's eyes went wet. Claire's face went blank. I nodded slowly, like I was considering his argument. Then I said, "Thank you." Grant frowned. "For what?" "For admitting it," I said. His eyes narrowed. "Admitting what?" "That you targeted her," I said. "That you knew she was married, that you used your position, or the lie of it, to get what you wanted." He opened his mouth to deny, but Claire cut in. "Oh, he did," she said. "He told me once that married women are easier because they're already trained to compromise." Grant's head snapped to her. "Claire." She met his gaze. "Don't," she said. The waitress returned with the drinks. She set them down and hurried away, like she'd just delivered ammunition. My wife grabbed her purse. "I'm leaving," she said. Grant's hand shot out and caught her wrist under the table. A small gesture, but I saw it. Claire saw it too. My wife's eyes met mine. For a second, fear broke through her pride. "Let her go," I said. Grant smiled without warmth. "Or what?" he asked. I leaned forward, voice low enough that only our table could hear. Or the next call I make won't be to your wife, I said. It'll be to your employer. Grant's smile faltered. You can't do that, he said. I can, I replied. And unlike you, I don't need to lie about what I am. Claire's lips curved just slightly. She reached into her purse and slid her phone across the table to me. The screen was open to a folder of screenshots, texts, photos, a selfie of Grant in a hotel mirror, shirt unbuttoned, grin big. My wife's face drained again when she saw it. Claire whispered, I've been collecting. Grant snatched his phone from his pocket, checking it like he expected it to burst into flames. You're insane, he hissed at Claire. No, she said. I'm done. My wife stood fast, knocking her water glass so it spilled. A few drops splashed my sleeve like cold punctuation. I didn't know, she said, voice cracking. I didn't know he wasn't. I thought. You thought what? I asked. That if he was important enough, it would feel less like betrayal? Her mouth opened, then shut. She couldn't answer because the answer was sitting there between us like the candle. Grant slid out of the booth. This is over, he said. We're leaving. Claire didn't move. I'm not, she said. Grant stared at her, stunned. Claire. She looked at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. Go, she said. He grabbed my wife's arm again. She jerked away and stumbled into the aisle. I stood too. For a second I thought Grant might swing. His shoulders tensed like a dog deciding whether to bite. Then he leaned in close and hissed, You think you're smart? You think you can ruin me? You don't know who you're messing with. I smiled, and it felt wrong on my face. I do, I said. A leasing manager with a fragile ego. He shoved past me. My wife hurried after him like she still believed he was her escape. Claire stayed seated. I slid back into the booth across from her. She stared at the river through the window, lights rippling on the surface like something trying to climb out. I'm sorry, I said. She shook her head. Don't be, she replied. You didn't do this. Then she turned to me, eyes hard. So what now? She asked. I looked toward the door Grant had stormed out of. Now, I said, we finish what we started. Quiet, clean, no scenes, just consequences. Her gaze didn't waver. Tell me what you need, she said. And that was the moment I realized revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's two people in a booth deciding they're done being polite. When I got home, my wife wasn't there. Her car was gone. So was her overnight bag from the closet. She didn't text me. She didn't call. She didn't even pretend. I stood in our bedroom and stared at the empty hangar space, like the gap itself was mocking me. Eli had told me, don't move money, don't change locks without advice, don't do anything that looks like punishment. But Eli hadn't been at River House. Eli hadn't watched her grab the arm of the man she'd used to call her boss, like it was a rope out of a fire. I sat on the edge of the bed and forced my breathing to slow. Then I did what I've always done when something breaks. I made a checklist. 1. Evidence. Save everything. 2. Safety. Protect myself from accusations. 3. Control. Take back what I could legally take back. I went to my laptop. I downloaded the shared location history, screenshotted texts from her phone backup I still had access to, took photos of our bank account balances and the auto-pay schedules for utilities. I wasn't stealing, I was documenting. At midnight, she still wasn't home. At 12:17, my phone buzzed. Wife, we need to talk. I stared at the words, no apology, no explanation, just a demand. Me. Tomorrow. In public. Wife. Stop acting like you own me. That one stung because it came with memory. I'd never owned her. I'd been the man who fixed what broke, who paid bills on time, who held the stable end of the rope while she climbed. Me. I'm acting like I own my life. No reply. At 1:03, Claire texted, He came home, tried to charm, then tried to blame. I recorded it. He said he'd handle you. I read it twice. Me. Save it. Don't send it yet. Claire. Why? Me. Because if he thinks he's in control, he makes mistakes. A minute later, she replied, Understood. I went to the garage and pulled out a small box I hadn't opened in years. Inside were 2 cameras I used to install around the condo complex for HOA disputes. Simple, legal, motion-triggered. No audio, just video. I mounted one facing the driveway, another facing the front door. If my wife came back angry, if Grant came back stupid, I wanted the truth on record. I didn't sleep much. I lay there listening to the house settle, every creak sounding like a footstep. Around 3, headlights washed across the ceiling. Car doors. Voices outside. I got up and went to the living room, staying in the dark. Through the front window, I saw my wife and Grant in the driveway. She was crying. He was talking fast, hands moving like he was assembling a lie in the air. He pointed at the house like it was an enemy. Then, this part I'll never forget, he stepped up to my front door and tested the handle. My jaw tightened. He didn't have a key. He shouldn't have. But he tested it anyway, like he expected the world to open for him. My wife stood behind him, wiping her cheeks, watching. Grant knocked. 3 sharp knocks. I didn't answer. He knocked again, louder. Still nothing. He leaned close to the window and cupped his hands around his face to see inside. All I had to do was flip on the light. All I had to do was open the door and let the night turn into a fight. But Eli had said, public, clean, smart. So I stayed in the dark. Grant stepped back, annoyed. He pulled his phone out and dialed. My phone buzzed. I watched it vibrate on the coffee table like a trapped insect. I didn't pick up. Grant cursed, loud enough that I heard it through the glass. Then he turned to my wife and said something I couldn't hear. She shook her head. He grabbed her elbow, too tight, and steered her back toward his car. Before she got in, she looked at the house one last time. For a second, our eyes met through the window. She mouthed something. I couldn't tell if it was please or fine. Then she climbed into his car, and they drove away. I stood there in my dark living room, heart thudding, and felt something settle into place. She didn't just betray me. She chose him, even after she saw what he was. That made my next steps easy. The next morning, I didn't call my wife. I called Riverstone Retail. I asked for Grant Harlow. A receptionist transferred me. His voice came on smooth and annoyed, like he'd been interrupted mid-flirt. "This is Grant," he said. "Grant," I said, "it's Daniel." A pause, then a scoff. "Oh, you. I'm calling to make a simple offer," I said. "Offer?" he repeated, and I could hear the smile in it. He thought this was negotiation. He thought I was desperate. "Leave me alone," I said. "Tell my wife whatever story you need to tell to get her out of my house and out of my life. In exchange, I won't send the evidence to your employer." His laugh was short. "You're blackmailing me," he said. "No," I replied. "Blackmail is asking for money. I'm asking for peace." "You don't get to ask for anything," he said, voice sharpening. "You're a maintenance guy. She's with me now. Move on." There it was, the ego, the blind spot. I let it hang a second. "Okay," I said again. That word had become my favorite weapon. He snorted. "That's what I thought." Then I said, "One more thing. Your wife recorded you last night." Silence. Then, "What?" "She recorded you," I repeated. "When you tried to handle me." His voice went low. "You're lying." "I'm not," I said. "And here's the part you won't like. Claire isn't alone anymore." Another beat. I could picture him in his office, suit jacket on the chair, smile wiped clean. "You're teaming up," he said, like it was a disease. "We're telling the truth," I replied. "Try it sometime." I hung up. Then I called Eli. "I'm ready," I said. "Ready for what?" he asked. "To file," I said. To do it clean. Eli didn't ask for drama. He asked for details: bank accounts, property, vehicles. Whether we had kids, we didn't. Whether there was domestic violence, there wasn't. Whether she had moved out, she had technically, if she stayed away. You want a separation agreement, he said, and a temporary order about the house. I want her out, I said. Then don't lock her out, he replied. Let the court do that. It was the hardest instruction to follow. My whole body wanted to bolt the doors. But I listened. Because revenge that costs you your own future is just self-harm with a different name. Over the next week, my wife came back twice. The first time, she arrived midday while I was at work. The cameras caught her walking in like she still belonged. She packed more clothes, took her perfume, took the good suitcase. She left a note on the counter. You're making this a lot bigger than it needs to be. I laughed when I saw it. Not because it was funny, because it was pure her, rewriting reality to suit her feelings. The second time she came at night. I was home. She walked in wearing that same blazer and a new confidence-like armor. We need to talk, she said, dropping her purse on the sofa like a claim. I told you, I said. Public. She rolled her eyes. Stop with the lawyer voice. I stared at her. Funny, I said. You liked lawyer voices when you were pretending your boyfriend was a boss. Her face tightened. Grant is not my boyfriend, she snapped. I waited. She didn't correct herself. She realized what she'd said and her cheeks flushed. I mean, she started. Save it, I said. You want to talk? We can talk at a coffee shop, with witnesses. I'm not afraid of you, she said. That's not the point, I replied. The point is, I'm not giving you a private room to lie in. She moved closer, eyes bright with anger. So what? You're going to ruin me? You're going to run around town telling everyone? I haven't told anyone, I said. You've been doing the telling, just not out loud. She laughed, sharp. You think Claire's your friend? You think she cares about you? She just wants to punish him. Maybe, I said, and maybe I want to punish you. There, the truth, spoken plain. Her eyes widened, like she expected me to be the kind of man who pretends forgiveness while choking on it. You can't, she said, but it sounded like a question. I can, I replied. And I will, legally, quietly, with receipts. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down, then turned the screen away. Reflex. Grant. Always Grant. I pointed at her phone. He's not even here, and you still flinch for him, I said. She snapped, You don't know anything. I stepped closer until we were a foot apart. I kept my voice low. I know you called him a real man this morning, I said. And I know he didn't come to the door last night because he wanted you. He came because he wanted control. Her lips parted. For a moment, fear flickered across her face. A small crack. Then it hardened again. Fine, she said. File. I'll get a better lawyer, and when this is done, you'll be alone in that stupid house. She grabbed her purse and stormed out. I didn't follow. Instead, I sat at the table and opened my laptop. Claire sent me a new message. Claire, HR at Riverstone asked him to come in tomorrow. I sent the screenshots to their compliance line. He doesn't know yet. Me. Good. Claire, he's going to blame your wife. Me. Let him. Claire, are you okay? I stared at that last line. Nobody had asked me that in a way that mattered. Me. I'm learning how to be. The day Riverstone called Grant in, my wife showed up at my job. I was fixing a gate motor when my supervisor waved me over, face tight. There's a woman here asking for you, he said. I knew before I saw her. She stood in the sun like she'd walked onto a stage, sunglasses, perfect hair, that blazer again. People turned to look. She loved that. Daniel, she said loudly, like she was greeting a coworker, not the man she'd gutted. I stepped out of the shade. What do you want? I asked. I looked past her at the row of condos, the residents walking dogs, kids on scooters, the normal life continuing like nothing. You didn't stop, I said. She took a step closer. He told me you're recording everything, that you're setting me up. I'm documenting, I said. There's a difference. Her hands clenched. What do you want from me? The question had heat in it, like she expected me to ask for her to crawl back. I said, I want you to sign the separation agreement. Her mouth twisted. So you can take the house, she snapped. So we can stop pretending, I replied. She leaned in, voice shaking. You're not the man I married. I met her gaze. Neither are you. She inhaled like she wanted to scream. Then she did something I didn't expect. She grabbed my arm. Not romantic, not gentle, a grip. Let's go talk, she said, pulling. I yanked my arm back. Don't touch me, I said, loud enough that my supervisor looked over again. Her face flashed with humiliation. You're making a scene, she hissed. No, I replied. You are. She turned on her heel and stalked to her car. I watched her go, chest tight. Then my phone buzzed. Claire. He got walked out of the office. I'm not kidding. Security. Me. Fired? Claire. Pending investigation. But he's done. I stared at the words, feeling a strange emptiness. I'd imagined joy, relief. Instead, I felt the kind of quiet you feel after a storm knocks out power. Me. Be careful. He'll come for someone. Claire. I know, and I was done giving him private. 2 nights later, my wife asked to meet. Public, she said. Coffee shop downtown. I agreed. I got there early and chose a table by the window. I wanted visibility. I wanted witnesses. I wanted the truth to have a seat. She arrived 10 minutes late, as always, like time bent for her. She sat without greeting me and slid a folder across the table. Grant got fired, she said, voice flat. Pending, I replied. He blames you, she said. I don't care, I replied. She stared at me, eyes tired now, makeup thin. For the first time in weeks, she looked less like a character and more like a person. I didn't mean it, she said quietly. The real man thing. I was angry. I watched her hands. She kept twisting her ring, the one she still wore out of habit. You said it, I replied. You meant something. She swallowed. I felt trapped, she said. In our house? I asked. With your own life? In you, she said, and there was a bite in it, but also a tremor. I leaned back, letting silence expand. A barista called out names. A couple laughed at another table. Life kept moving. She opened the folder. Inside was a proposed settlement from her new lawyer. Aggressive, unrealistic, petty. You want the house, I said, reading. I want what I deserve, she said. You want what you can take, I replied. Her eyes flashed. You think you're some hero, she said, calling his wife, making me look like what? I asked. Like someone who cheated? She flinched. You're cruel, she whispered. I nodded. I learned from you. She sucked in a breath, like she might cry, then forced it down. Grant says Claire is going to ruin him, she said. Grant ruined himself, I replied. Her voice rose. So you and Claire are just going to, what, team up and destroy people? I looked at her. Really looked. You destroyed me, I said. And you didn't even think it counted. Her mouth opened, closed. I continued, voice low but steady. I didn't hit you. I didn't threaten you. I didn't touch your money. I called the one person who deserved to know the truth. That's it. You set a trap, she said. I set a mirror, I replied. You walked into it. She sat back, breathing hard. She sat back, breathing hard, eyes bright with anger. So this is it? She said. You and Claire, turning this into a crusade? It's not a crusade, I replied. It's a record. It's the truth. Her jaw worked like she was chewing glass. You're enjoying it, she whispered. No, I said. I'm enduring it, and I'm done being alone in it. She pushed her chair back, the legs squealing on tile. You'll regret this, she said. I didn't chase her. I let her storm out with the story she wanted to tell. My phone buzzed as she left. Claire. He's outside my house, in his car, sitting there. I'm scared. I stood up so fast my chair wobbled. I texted back, call the police. Don't go outside. I'm coming. Claire lived across town in a neighborhood with tall trees and quiet streets. The kind of place Grant had probably told her she was lucky to have. When I pulled up, I saw his car parked down the block, engine off, lights dark, like a predator lying low. Claire's porch light was on, curtains drawn. I parked in front of her house, visible. I wanted my presence to be a signal. My phone rang before I got out. Daniel, Claire whispered. He's still here. I see him, I said. Stay inside, door's locked. I called, she said. They said they're sending someone. Good, I replied. I stepped out of my truck and stood on the sidewalk where streetlights washed everything in pale yellow. I didn't approach his car. I didn't knock. I didn't give him what he wanted. I just stood there, hands visible, phone in my palm. Minutes passed slow. Then Grant's car door opened. He got out like he owned the street. He wore a hoodie and jeans, no sport coat now, no restaurant smile, just a man stripped down to what he was. He walked toward me, fast. Move, he snapped. This isn't your business. It became my business when you tried to make it my problem, I replied. He stopped a few feet away, chest heaving. She ruined me, he said, voice shaking with rage. She sent those screenshots. She made me look like what you did, I said. His eyes darted to the house, then back to me. She's inside? He asked. Doesn't matter, I replied. He smiled suddenly, sharp. You think you're protecting her? He said. You think you're some kind of hero. I'm not a hero, I said. I'm just a man who's done being quiet. He stepped closer. Get out of the way, he said. I held up my phone. Everything you say is being recorded, I told him. So choose carefully. His smile faltered. Then he lunged. Not at me exactly. Past me, toward the driveway, toward the house. I moved without thinking, body blocking his path. He slammed into me, shoulder to chest. We stumbled. My phone almost flew. He grabbed my shirt and shoved. For a second, the old part of me wanted to swing, to end it with fists. But the new part, the part that had been forged in the kitchen under coffee steam, stayed focused. I didn't punch. I held on. I kept my footing. I kept him in the streetlight. Back off, I said loud. He shoved again. You're nothing, he hissed. She didn't want you. Your wife didn't want you. Nobody wants you. Keep talking, I said, and I smiled again. Give the court something to read. He froze, breathing hard. A siren rose in the distance. Grant's eyes flicked toward the sound, panic blooming. He let go of my shirt and stepped back. This isn't over, he said, voice suddenly thin. It is, I replied. The patrol car turned onto the street, lights flashing blue and red, bright against the trees. Grant took 2 steps backward like he might run. Then, like he couldn't help himself, he shouted toward Claire's house. You think you won? You think you get to ruin me and walk away? A window curtain twitched. Then Claire's front door opened, just a crack, chain still on. Her voice came out clear, steady, and loud enough for the officers. Grant, she said. Leave. Now. The officer got out of the car, hand near his belt, but calm. Sir, the officer said to Grant. Step over here. Grant's eyes darted, calculating, and then the final piece fell into place. Grant didn't argue. He didn't charm. He didn't threaten. He did something else, something small and cowardly that told me everything. He turned to the officer and pointed at me. He attacked me, Grant said. I laughed once, out loud. The officer looked at me, then at Grant, then at my phone in my hand. "Is that recording?" the officer asked. "Yes," I said, "and my truck has a dash camera, and Claire has a door camera." Grant's face went pale, the same way my wife's had at River House. The officer sighed like he'd just been handed a gift. "Sir," the officer said to Grant, "turn around." Grant backed up. "This is ridiculous," he said. "He's—" "Turn around," the officer repeated, firmer. Grant hesitated. Then he turned, hands raised, and the officer cuffed him, not hauled away for some dramatic crime, not thrown into a dungeon, just restrained and told in plain words that he was being issued a trespass warning and a protective order would follow if he came back. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't cinematic, it was real. Claire stepped onto the porch, still behind the chain, eyes steady. She looked at me and nodded once. "Thank you. I'm okay. It's done." Grant glared at me over his shoulder, hatred bright. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to look to know it was my wife. She'd hear about this. She'd spin it. She'd call me controlling again. But standing there under the streetlights, watching Grant's lie collapse in front of an officer who didn't care about his ego, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Not over her, not over him, over myself. And when my wife's message finally popped up on the screen, it wasn't an apology. It was a single line. "You think this makes you a real man?" I stared at it, then typed back, slow and steady. "Me. No. The real man is the one who stops letting you define him." I put the phone away. I looked at the dark river of the street, the flashing lights fading, the night returning to normal. The revenge I'd wanted, loud, explosive, had turned into something else. A clean cut, a closed door, a life that would go forward without their noise. And for the first time since the kitchen, I believed it.